Hey everyone. In this edition of ITS Now, we've got a special edition where we'll be looking at TRAFEX 2022. This is a major trade event that occurs at the National Exhibition Centre near Birmingham in the UK. So if you missed getting to TRAFEX, or you got there and you want to see if you're in the video or just something you may have missed whilst you were there, have a look. At the end of the video, I'll also be giving my awards for the best three innovation features that I saw there. So wait till the end to find out what made my top three list. Right, welcome to the TRAFEX 2022 special. I'm here, it's the Wednesday, it's the middle day of the show, and I thought I'd do a little walk around to show you what's going on. So here we go. So I'm a bit busier today. I had the presentation yesterday that I did, which was about ITS infrastructure being resilient to extreme weather. That went very well, so that will be posted on the channel in the next week or so, so look out for that. Anyway, here as normal, we've got all the big players. We've got the Unixes, we've got Swarco now instead of DINIC. They've taken over now, so we've got all sorts of different things going on here. You can see that some of the displays are actually pretty big and sophisticated. You can see this sort of mock-up of a control suite here on the Swarco stand. So they're showing how their different pieces of equipment work. And they've got the normal sorts of traffic signal equipment here as well. So you can see their new traffic signal controller on the head, etc. So the updates happening with that. Anyway, there does seem to be quite a lot of parking equipment this year in the other side of the show. So that's been pretty busy. What we've also got now increasingly is more temporary or portable traffic signal equipment being displayed. So Nissan here displaying, but we've also got quite a few other companies as well. So this is something that is increasingly happening. This is a good one. So NAL have got some new products which I thought I'd show you as well. So up here, where is it? There it is. So they've got their wind-up mount now, which is used for installing things like mesh repeaters and things like that. Also CCTV. And this really gives the ability to provide, you can see here the wind-up mechanism, and then the arm at the top. Obviously that one's a cut down version of it, so it's for display, but it can get up to sort of about 6 meters. So a useful bit of kit, I think, with CDM regulations. It's got a very compelling case because it cuts down on working at height. It also means that you're reusing existing infrastructure, so you're not littering the roadside, and also actually you're not putting more street furniture in the verge as well, so that's really good. couple of other things that they've got here, which are quite practical sort of improvements, which have been interesting to see. And some of these are quite small, but actually when you work on infrastructure, it makes a big, big difference. So one of the things that they've done on these is put in a new bolt onto these. So that just seems like a really simple little thing, but the shoulder on that means that the spanners don't come off. So it's actually much easier to use it, which is really good. Hey, could we look at that lid? Yes, please.
Yeah, of course.
So another really good innovation that they've come up with is this lift lock. Right, here we go.
Right, so this is a C250 option. I've just put some gloves on, sorry. Bear with me.
I'm really pleased to see he's putting his glove on for this one. How are you?
So it's a normal, good, thanks, yeah?
Good.
Yeah, it's a normal T-bolt. As this rotates, the cover starts lifting off. So you've got a worm underneath. As you rotate it, lifts it above. It's about 40 mil, enough to get your hand under. What this allows us to do is lift it and slide it back, giving you access to your cover. To your chamber, sorry.
And you can see here the sort of worm on it as well. So that will really help if lids are gritted in or difficult to get into. You've actually got a means of getting those out, which is great. So those sorts of practical things make a huge difference. So it's really interesting to see those developments. So I think one of the really interesting things at this show is actually the increase in the amount of temporary and portable traffic signals you've got. Here behind me we've got the SRL stand, and you see the extent of this stand. You know, a few years ago there was no way that a company like this would have had such a big presence, but now they've just got a huge plethora of different types of equipment. So it's really interesting to see how that actually has changed, you know, with the times. One of their interesting features, I think, is this Instaboom. I believe this is originally an Australian product, and is used to provide a rising arm barrier for temporary roadworks. Seems to work very well, and you know, just gives a whole different perspective to restricting access to work sites. Right, so I'm going to wander around a little bit more. So a really big element of the whole event is a series of conference presentations here and panel events. One of those at the moment here is talking about the progression on the SRN to the digital roads. Here's a little flavour of that. So next I'm at the Navtech stand. So you may be aware that they produce the radar equipment that's used on stock vehicle detection. And up here we can see a unit. So these were on the roadside. So typically these would be up on a tall pole, providing coverage for a whole section of the motorway. Looking out for vehicles that have stopped for some reason. But what they've got here is also a example so you can see inside, and they've had a few more developments with those. So we'll go and have a look at that now. So in this, obviously they've put a transparent cover on it so that you can see what's going on inside. But the really clever bit about this is that instead of having a mechanical drive, this is now floating on a magnetic field, so you can see the coils going around. So it removes the need for this aspect to be maintained. So there's no moving parts as such. It's all just solid with this floating and rotating. Really clever little development, I think, that, and it really shows the level of innovation is not just on the headline items, but is actually going through the whole of the product train as well. Right, I'm here at the WJ stand. They're exhibiting the stop vehicle detection system being used in a temporary situation to provide warnings of incursions into traffic management. An interesting sort of use. Obviously there's some issues around understanding when a vehicle is actually should or should not be inside a traffic management area. Also whether or not the changing nature of traffic management would actually cause a problem. But a lot of thought's gone into this. They are incorporating it with camera, CCTV monitoring as well. So you can see on this temporary installation at the top of the pole there, obviously this is on a solar PV situation, but it's a clever use, a clever adaptation of that technology for other uses. Also here at Trafex, it's not all about technology as such. Portland, the company behind me, they've been manufacturing Belisha beacons, Pelican Crossing beacons for many, many years. And you can see these include the halo on them as well, so they really show up much more clearly. They've got a few different items on them, including the lit poles and the sort of shields and things. But it's noticeable that on the Belisha beacons themselves now, most of the time, the actual sphere itself is not lit that brightly, so it doesn't interfere with people living nearby. But the sort of sections around the sides on these are particularly bright, and because of their directional, they actually show up very clearly to drivers approaching in either direction. So one of the things I really love about coming to these sorts of exhibitions is that you find products that are just different. Somebody's come up with a really bright idea, and my new friends here at Livable Cities have come up with a way of using the existing connector that's on top of street lighting lanterns that are used for the dimming and brightening of lighting to actually piggyback technology onto. So it's using existing infrastructure. So again, it's cutting down on installing new infrastructure and using cellular comms and the power from the socket itself. It means that you don't have to install any other items. They just plug in. They give you the functionality for dimming and the lights, or switching them on and off at the right times, but then have additional technology on. So things like they're working on a CCTV solution, air pollution, noise, etc. So it's a very flexible means of adding some intelligence out on the street without having to put out a whole load of new poles and electrical supplies and comms. Interesting to see some of the products on some of the different stands. So just talking to the guys on the Tagmaster stand. So you know, they're well known for producing RFID type equipment, place those onto vehicles so that you get a positive identification of a specific vehicle. What I wasn't aware of, though, is that they're also working in other sectors of detection. So they're also working on ANPR, inductive loop detection, radar and magnetometer. So full spectrum of detection capabilities. So interesting to see that on Tagmaster. So even with road marking equipment, we're seeing levels of innovation. Here we've got a laser line to help get straight lines, and you can see how far this thing's going. It's quite incredible what's going on all the time. Right, I hope you found that interesting. Whether or not you made it to Trafex or not, I think really captured the flavour of the show for everyone. So at the beginning I said about my Innovation Awards for Trafex 2022. So here they are. At number 3, reverse order as these things always are, is the Livable Cities SLX Microsensing Platform. It's probably the longest title for any of these, but anyway. So this is the sensing suite that can be added to street lighting luminaires using the solar cell socket or control socket on those, piggybacks off them and provides additional capabilities like CCTV or air quality. They've got a range of things which probably grow over time. I think this is a great example of actually using existing platforms to add capabilities without having to build new equipment infrastructure. So that's really good. And then at number 2 is NAL, the access chamber lid worm screw. This is a really simple little thing and would seem to be not worthy of an innovation award, but I think actually really shows how with all of these different sorts of things, something quite small can make a big difference. So that's my number 2. And then the number 1, the top spot, and that is the AGD 650. This is a smart optical detector which has got built-in artificial intelligence. So this is adding a whole load of capabilities to sort of stop line detection. It's a dual zone detector, but I think we'll see these sorts of capabilities grow so that they become more and more capable of providing different outputs for different users, etc. Anyway, I think that's an interesting one. It's the start of the next sort of level of detection, so that's going forward. Okay, obviously I'm not endorsing these. I haven't actually used these products, but it would be interesting to know what you think. Did you think there was something else better than those? Do you agree, disagree about any of them? It would be really good to know. So put your comments in below and let me know. So I also mentioned about the paper that I gave at Trafex, which is making ITS equipment resilient to extreme and changing weather conditions. So that will be in episode 8. That's the next episode of ITS Now, so look out for that one. Until then, see you next time.